Back with Cam Abbott. Cam, we've talked about your grandfather, William, and another great story. He proposed to you and your brother, and mainly you, I believe, about doing something a little bit bigger, something different. And you went out and bought a kit to make an airplane.
Oh boy.
Yeah. Huh?
Yeah.
And that's true. You built
true.
a plane from scratch.
We have. So the story went. My grandfather, Chief, had cancer. He was in the hospital at about 85 years old, and was, as the doctor said, probably 50-50, and not in the greatest of spirits. So Chris and I drove a couple hours to go see him at the hospital, and asked Chief, "What do you want to do when you get out of here?" And he said, "I've always wanted to finish building an airplane. I built one halfway years back out of wood, but we had to sell it so we could keep the boat shop working." And we said, let's make it happen. So we did some research. We knew we wanted to fly off the water. We wanted to have at least 3 or 4 of us in the plane. And so that actually narrowed down the potential kits to 3 different kits. We chose to build one that was the cheapest initial cost, which you learn from that. And it was essentially about a month later, it came a box of metal that was about 3 times the size of this table, and 4 big binders full of engineering diagrams, and that was your kit. And there was no instructions. It was build this airplane. It didn't come with a propeller or an engine or anything else, but it was, that was 2007, 2008.
That was a Bush Caddy, is that correct?
The name of the company at the time was
Bush Caddy.
Bush Caddy, and 4-place high wing metal bush plane, solid rivets in the cage, and about a 200 horsepower Lycoming engine.
So similar to a Cessna 180, which people might...
That's a good comparison. Yeah, a little bit same wingspan, a little bit less refined maybe than, but just as solid.
So obviously, as you said, you get these binders you're leafing through, and you've got parts everywhere. A labor of love. I mean, that had to be strenuous. Take us through that little time, and it had to be a lot of frustration at times.
Taken a lot of, we all have learning opportunities from that whole experience. I think there was about 6,500 man hours were put into the project, and there was a whole lot of people involved in helping this come to fruition, as there is in most major projects. We had a man that's since passed that helped us, and an old pilot. He would show up and help work on the plane for 2-3 years in a row in the evenings. My dad, my uncles, so many people had their hand in it, but for sure my grandfather, and I'd like to think Chris and I as well, were the ones that kept pushing this thing forward. And it took us 6.5, 7 years, but it flies, and it was flying last weekend. So
completed, you just mentioned that as we were headed to Hershey. 2013 it was completed. Did it have floats initially? Because I know...
No.
Yeah, you put those on a little later, so you can go to your cottage.
Set up as a tail dragger, which brings its own... I mean, tail dragger airplanes are fun animals to harness the power of. They can get away from you. Thankfully, it flew beautifully right from the first time we took it up in the air. And so we flew it for the first 25, 30 hours maybe 100 hours with just the 3 wheels. And then the following year, got to work installing some amphibious floats.
Wow. And you use it to go to your cottage?
Made it to our cottage up north in Northern Ontario a few times now. I will say the experience of building the plane over those 6, 7 years, and the wonderful hours, hundreds of hours spent through the summer times as we were preparing for our professional seasons playing hockey, was some of the most enjoyable times I've ever spent with my grandfather. And the building experience, the solving problems as they come, knowing that this plane will not fly for another 3 years potentially, brought a whole another level of mental strength, because it really determined how gritty and how determined were we to get this project done.
Well, I guess so. So you do fly?
I received my pilot's license in 2011. It has since become less flying since my 3 kids have been born, and other life has taken other priorities, but it's always a pleasure when you get up in a plane.
Well, what's it like, Sarah, to take off yourself, move up, and see everything? I mean, it has to be an amazing experience.
I'll show you some videos. Especially when you know every rivet and every bolt and every wire intimately in the plane, it adds a another level of interest to flying. What a learning opportunity as well. Nobody in our family had any previous experience building airplanes or metal construction, and the opportunity to learn wiring a Garmin panel of avionics is something that I still smile at when I see some of the wiring diagrams.
Sure. Yeah. Another amazing story. Oh, that's crazy. We'll be back with more Wolves hockey after this.